After 10 long months with zero sales, Priya achieved 3 lakh rupees as her first set of revenue in just 1 month. Mind you, with zero product changes. She just stopped asking how do I make my product better and started asking the real monetization question, which is who is walking past me after checking my portal. Nobody in the Indian startup ecosystem will say out this part loud. Your product might be good, your AI workflows might be genuinely smart, your UI might be cleaner than the competitor with 50 times your budget. Still, none of that will save you. If a buyer lands on your homepage and cannot tell in 8 seconds exactly why you exist for exactly them, this is not a product problem. This is a positioning problem. And it is the single most fixable problem in your entire GTM stack. If you know this particular framework. Well, most founders never fix it. Not because they don't care. Because in the early stage, nobody has shown them how to fix it using the tools around which they're already very much active, which are Claude and LinkedIn. One just needs 20 minutes and the right questions. That is what this module is. By the end of this video, you will have run a skeptical buyer test on your own homepage using Claude, found the white space your competitors have left wide open, written your positioning in 5 formats and posted something on LinkedIn that will tell you within 24 hours whether your new positioning is working or not. Not next week, tonight. Let me tell you about Priya. Priya is 27. She's from Jaipur, who grew up watching her father run a small trading business, spending evenings watching him negotiate on the phone. She went to BITS Pilani, got a CS degree, worked at a SaaS company in Hyderabad for 2 years odd in business development. Then quit to build something of her own. Now she built an AI-powered sales coaching platform specifically designed to help B2B SaaS founders close deals faster. Now when she came to me, as I mentioned, she had 0 paying customers after 10 months of building and had only 1.5 lakh rupees left in the bank to be spent on social media ads as per her. She had 8 free users though. Now here's the thing. I looked at the product, it was genuinely good. The AI coaching was context aware, the call analysis was specific to Indian enterprise sales dynamics, the nudge system was smart. This was not a bad product pretending to be good. But when I landed on her homepage and I read the headline, it was AI powered sales intelligence for B2B teams. I had no idea why I would choose this over Gong or Clary or 15 other tools available in the market. She was invisible, not because of features, but because of positioning. So before we go deeper into Priya's story, I need to clarify something that almost every early stage founder gets wrong. Positioning is not marketing. It is neither branding or your tagline. Also, positioning is not a section in your pitch deck that you update quarterly. Positioning is the decision about where you sit in a buyer's mind relative to every other option they have. Think of your buyer's mind like a shelf, and that too a very crowded shelf. Every product competes for a slot on that shelf. Most products end up in the vague middle, the another tool for X section, where nobody looks. The product that get chosen are the ones that own a specific corner, a specific slot, a specific reason to exist. Let's do one micro action, which I call the shelf test. Open your notes app and just answer 2 questions. Question number 1. In your buyer's mind, what shelf or place does your product sit on? Just think of any differentiation. You can pause the video also if you like. Well, if you can't answer this clearly, you have no positioning. Question number 2. What other products are on the same shelf and how many are there? 3s, 10s. You can pause the video if you like. Well, if answer to question 2 is I am one of many with similar labels, you have invisible positioning. Well, both are fixable, but you have to know which one you have first. Well, Priya's positioning mistake is the most common one I see in Indian SaaS startups. She was trying to compete by being better with better features, better AI workflows, and better UI. And so she positioned around that, having the tagline AI powered sales intelligence for B2B teams. Now, what is the problem? Gong also says that, Clary also says that, Chorus also says that, every sales intelligence tool in the world says that. And when you position by saying you are better, You're entering a comparison game. And in a comparison game, the better funded competitor always wins. They have more reviews on G2, more case studies, a bigger sales team, a better known brand. You lose before the demo even starts. Let's see Linear versus Jira case study. When Linear launched in 2019, Jira had been the market leader in issue tracking for 17 years with 200 million plus in ARR. By any normal measure, Jira was unbeatable. Linear did not say we are better Jira. They said issue tracking for high performance teams who ship fast. They positioned against Jira's weakness, which were complexity, slowness, and legacy, and not at all against Jira's features. They created a specific identity for a specific type of team. Now, within 3 years, Linear had hundreds of thousands of users and a $400 million valuation without ever claiming to have more features than Jira. They did not win by being better, they won by being specifically different for a specific buyer. Now, Priya was trying to beat Gong by being a better Gong. What she needed to do was stop competing with Gong entirely and own a position that Gong could never credibly claim. And that is exactly what she did. But first, she had to understand the framework that made it possible. Before I give you the framework, you need to know where it comes from. April Dunford spent 25 years as a VP of marketing at tech companies. She has launched 16 products and repositioned dozens of struggling ones. I have simplified her 5 component framework specifically for early stage Indian SaaS founders because some of the original examples are too enterprise and too Western to immediately click. So what you're about to see is the Dunford's framework. Number 1. Competitive alternatives. What would customers do if you didn't exist? I'm not talking about your list of competitors from the investor deck. The real question is, if your product vanished tomorrow, what would your customer actually do? They would either use another tool, go back to the manual process, do nothing, or build something themselves. Well, the honest answer to this question defines who you are really competing against. And it is almost never who you think. Now, what was Priya's answer? Priya said Gong and Clary. Her customers actually said WhatsApp, voice note, and Excel. That is not the same battlefield. This is the most important question in this entire framework. Most founders list their startup competition. The real answer is almost always more manual, more basic, and more Indian than they expect. Well, when Priya asked her 8 free users, what were you using before her platform? Here are the actual answers she got. 3 users said WhatsApp voice notes to debrief after sales calls, which they will review them on weekends and take notes in a diary. 2 users said they call a mentor or senior founder after a difficult enterprise negotiation. 2 users said nothing formal, we'll just figure it out on the next call. And 1 user said search sales coaches and clawed it. Well, none of them were using Gong. None of them were using Clary. Priya was not competing with American enterprise sales software. She was competing with WhatsApp and Intuition. This changes everything. If your real competitor is WhatsApp and Intuition, your pricing doesn't need to justify itself against Gong's 8,000 rupees per user per month. Your positioning doesn't need to say better than Gong. It needs to say better than doing this on WhatsApp and hoping your instinct is right. Point number 2. Unique attributes. What do you have that your real alternatives don't? Not features, attributes. The specific things that only you can claim. Because of your founding team's background, your training data, your geographic focus, your design philosophy, or your specific expertise. These are the things that makes you different in a way that actually matters to the buyer. Now let's check Priya's answer. She has the only sales coaching platform trained specifically on Indian B2B enterprise sales conversations, whether it is Tata, Infosys, BFSI, or government procurement. WhatsApp has none of the context. Here is where Priya's positioning started to crystallize. She had something that WhatsApp voice notes and a mentor call genuinely do not have. She had an AI trained on thousands of Indian enterprise sales conversations, which were specifically the ones where a 3% startup is trying to close a deal with 10,000% procurement committee. The relationship first dynamics, the hierarchy navigation, the let me check with my manager loops, and the 90-day decision cycles. All these were not there with American tools. And no WhatsApp group has that structure. That is an attribute, not a feature. Now, number 3, value. What measurable outcomes does this particular attribute create? Not saves time, not increases efficiency. A specific measurable outcome that a specific buyer will pay to achieve. The value is the bridge between what you have and why anyone would care. Now, what is Priya's answer? Founders who uses her platform closes Indian enterprise deals 40% faster because they stop making the same relationship mistakes on repeat. Now, number 4, target customers characteristics. Who cares most about that specific value? Not a demographic, a psychographic plus situational profile. Who is the person who feels this problem most acutely right now and has both the budget and the urgency to act on it? Now, what is Priya's answer? Series A Indian SaaS founders, 6 to 18 months post funding, trying to crack their first enterprise deal with a large Indian company. They have the budget, they have the deadline, and they are terrified of losing to a more experienced sales team. Now, number 5, market frame of reference. What category name helps a buyer immediately understand what you are? This is the decision that changes everything. The category name you choose determines who you are compared against, what the buyer expects from you, and whether you start as a contender or an afterthought. Now, Priya's old frame. Sales intelligence, which was Gon's category where she loses. And what is Priya's new frame? Indian enterprise sales coaching, a category she can own because she's the only one in it. Well, these 5 components are not independent decisions. They build on each other. Your alternatives define your uniqueness, and your uniqueness defines your value. Then your value defines who cares, and who cares defines your category. If you miss one component out of them, the whole positioning gets unstable. Once you know your 5 components, you have a decision to make. The 5th component, which is market frame of reference, it forces you to choose between 2 paths. Path 1 is category entry. You enter an existing category that buyer already understand. We are a CRM. We are a project management tool. We are an analytics platform. The buyer immediately knows what you are. Here's the downside. They also immediately compare you to everyone else already in that category. You start at 0 credibility in a crowded room. And path 2 is category creation. You define a new category, a specific, narrower, more precise category that you alone occupy at launch. The buyer has to learn what the category means, but once they do, you are the only logical choice within it. You start as the leader of a room you built. Let me show you 3 examples you already know and what each of them chose. Zepto. They could have entered grocery delivery, a category Swiggy, Instamart, Big Basket and Blinkit already dominated. Instead, they created 10-minute delivery. Nobody owned that category. The number 10 minutes became the category name itself. Customers didn't compare Zepto to Big Basket. They asked, is 10-minute delivery available in my area? It is a different question, a different competitive set where Zepto won 7,000 rupees crore valuation in 4 years. Now Khatabo. They could have entered accounting software, which is a category dominated by Tally for 30 years. Instead, they created digital credit register for Kirana stores. which is not accounting and not bookkeeping. The specific thing a dukan owner needs, which is not a general ledger but a way to track udhar, which is the category so specific, so owned that they hit 10 million merchants before anyone knew what hit them. Now grow. They could have entered mutual fund platform, which is a category full of banks and SEBI listed entities with 30-year histories. Instead, they created a category which is investing for first-time investors who find traditional platforms scary. This category was defined by the emotion, which is not scared anymore, not by the financial instrument. Now, Grow is India's largest retail investing platform by users. It has 60 million of them. Now, here's the pattern: existing market plus specific new angle plus a name that makes that category obvious, which is equal to instant positioning clarity. Grocery delivery plus 10 minutes promise plus 10 minutes delivery is equal to Zepto's category. Accounting plus Kirana store context plus digital credit register is equal to Khata books category. Investing plus first time fear plus investing for beginners is equal to Grow's category. So how do you decide which part to take? Well, three questions. Question number one: is the existing category dominated by companies with 5x your budget? If yes, entering that category means losing a comparison game before it starts. Well, this is Priya's situation with Gong. Category creation is the only viable path when the incumbents have resources you will never match. Question number two: does your product serve a specific type of buyer that the existing category does not serve well? If Indian B2B founders cannot find tools built for how Indian enterprise actually works, that gap is a category waiting to be named. Well, question number three now. Can you describe your category in 4 words or fewer? Like Indian enterprise sales coaching, that's 4 words. 10 minutes delivery, that's 3 words. Digital credit register, that's 3 words. Now Priya had been calling herself sales intelligence, which is a Gong's category, for last 10 months. Well, when she worked through the 5 components, she realized something really uncomfortable, which is she had been fighting in a category she could never win. So Gong had been around since 2015. They have 4,000 customers, 800 employees and $200 million in funding. And she had only 1.5 lakh rupees left. When she renamed her category to Indian Enterprise Sales Coaching, 3 things happened immediately. First, she stopped competing with Gong in buyer conversations. Second, every Indian SaaS founder who saw the category description immediately said, "That's me." Third, she stopped trying to build features that matched Gong's roadmap and started building features that Indian B2B sales actually needed. Well, she did not change the product. She changed the shelf she was on. And the shelf she moved to had no one else on it. Now, when you don't name your competitor, the buyer names them for you. Let's take Grow versus traditional mutual fund platforms. Grow's early marketing explicitly said investing platforms are complex because they were designed for financial advisors and not for you. They named the category's complexity as the enemy. Not a specific company, but an entire approach. Every first-time investor who had been scared away by a traditional platform felt personally at risk. Let's take another example of Razorpay versus CC Avenue. Razorpay's early content was openly critical of the old way, which is payment gateway that took 7 days to integrate and had documentation from maybe 2008. They named the old category's failure without fear, and developers rallied to them. Another one, Zepto versus BigBasket. Zepto's entire brand is not BigBasket, not by name but by behavior. Well, 30 minutes delivery is not fast enough. 10 minutes is. Every BigBasket user who had waited for a 4-hour delivery knew exactly who that was aimed at. Now let me show you the most concrete example of competitor naming I have ever seen in real time. This is Priya's homepage headline. Before it was AI powered sales intelligence for B2B teams. Now here is what she changed it to. The sales coaching platform built for how Indian enterprise actually buys, not for how American SDRs sell. It was bold enough to target a specific geography. She did not put Gong's name on the page. She did not need to. Every Indian founder who has tried to use an American sales tool like Gong, Clary, or Outreach and found it completely misaligned with how their Indian enterprise customers actually make decisions. The phrase not for how American SDRs sell named an entire category of competitors without naming a single company. That is the craft of competitors naming. Here is the test. When your ideal customer tells a colleague about their work problem, the exact sentence they use, does that sentence sound like your homepage headline? Well, if a founder says to their co-founder, "Yeah, I spent 2 hours this weekend voice noting my call debriefs on WhatsApp and I still have no system for improving my enterprise pitch." And Priya's homepage says, "Stop coaching yourself on WhatsApp voice notes." That founder will feel Priya built her platform specifically for them. That feeling, which is this was built for exactly me. It is what owning a problem looks like from a buyer's perspective. Now in 2016, Notion was a tiny startup with a confusing positioning, which was all in one workspace. It was vague, unknown, and it was competing with Evernote, Confluence, Google Docs, Trello, and about 40 other tools. Then they made one positioning decision that changed everything. They owned the specific problem of tool fragmentation, the pain every knowledge worker felt, which was there were too many tools and nothing was connected and information was scattered everywhere. They stopped saying we do nodes and tasks. They started saying we replace the 5 disconnected tools you use without connected workspace. Well, there are 5 disconnected tools. That is a specific own problem statement. And every person paying for Slack plus Trello plus Confluence plus Evernote plus Google Drive read that and immediately felt seen. And that made them go from invisible to $10 billion valuation with the same product but different problem ownership. Now, even if a buyer understands your positioning perfectly, even if they are your ideal customer with the exact problem you solve, they might still not buy today. They might say it's a great product. We'll think about it. Maybe we'll see next quarter. The why now trigger is what turns next quarter into this week. The why now trigger is a market shift, a regulatory change, a technology shift, or a moment in the buyer's journey that makes your solution go from interesting to necessary right now. Now here is Priya's why now, which actually doubled her close rate. Priya just added one paragraph to her positioning, which is her why now. It read as Indian SaaS is having its biggest moment. There are 1200 plus startups which raised funding in 2025. Every one of them is now trying to sell to Indian enterprise for the first time. American sales tools were not built for this. WhatsApp voice notes are not enough. The founders who figure out Indian enterprise sales in the next 18 months will own their categories. The one who don't will spend the time losing deals they should have won. This paragraph appeared on her homepage, in a LinkedIn post, and in the first 60 seconds of every demo. Her close rate went from 14% to 31% in 8 weeks. Well, the product did not change. The product's urgency changed. That is the why now trigger. Okay, I want to give you something you can actually run this week. Well, Priya did her entire positioning overall in 5 days using Claude for the thinking and LinkedIn for the testing. Now here's the LinkedIn side. Well, 2 things happen when you post your new positioning on LinkedIn. 1, you test whether it resonates with your ICP. 2, you build positioning credibility before a single sales call. Well, the Indian founder community on LinkedIn is one of the most responsive audiences in the world for honest, specific, and founder to founder content. Now here are 3 formats. Format 1, The positioning transparency post. Share your before and after positioning with an honest story of why you changed it. The Indian founder community on LinkedIn responds strongly to vulnerability and process transparency. Here is what I got wrong. Here is what I changed. Here is the number it drove. This builds positioning credibility faster than any product announcement. Now, format number 2, the comment for the template post. You can post your category positioning framework as a visual. The 5 components applied to your product, and invite people to comment if they want a blank template for their own startup. This generates engagement and it attracts exactly your ICP and builds your email list simultaneously. Now, format 3, the I tried this with Claude post. This is the format almost nobody is using it, and it is performing exceptionally well in 2025 across Europe and US. Now, document your Claude positioning workflow as a process post. You can show the prompt you use, the output you got, and what you changed. Add a screenshot of the actual Claude conversation. And Indian founders are intensely curious about how other founders are using AI practically and not theoretically. Now, why this format works right now? The window for being seen as an early AI workflow founder is open right now. In 12 months, everyone will have AI workflows. Right now, showing a specific concrete Claude conversation that produced a real business outcome puts you in a category of founders who are little bit ahead. That perception compounds. The founder who is known for figuring out AI powered positioning owns a LinkedIn positioning of their own. Before I give you 3 things to remember, let me close Priya's story, where there was 5 days of positioning work with 1 Claude conversation per day, 2 LinkedIn posts, and 1 homepage rewrite. Well, nothing about the product changed. The product that had sat invisible for 10 months with 8 free users and 0 revenue became a category leader in 6 weeks because Priya finally decided who she was for, what problem she owned, why now was the right moment, and what shelf she was going to stand on. That is the power of positioning done right. Now, number 1 thing to remember, positioning is not marketing. It is deciding where you sit in a buyer's mind, which is relative to everything else that they could choose. We are better is not positioning, it is a hope. Positioning is specific. What category you own, what specific problem you solve, for what specific buyer, at what specific moment. 2. The 5 Dunford components are your positioning foundation. Competitive alternatives, unique attributes, value, target customers, and market frame of reference. Work through all 5 of them and let them build on each other. If you miss one, the whole thing becomes unstable. You can use Claude to do this in one afternoon as well. 3. The why now is what turns interesting into I need this today. Market shifts create why now moments. AI is a why now. The Indian SaaS to enterprise wave is a why now. Your buyer's specific deadline or trigger event is a why now. You name it and put it in your positioning. And you can watch your close rate change. Last but not the least, module 4 is about messaging, and here is why positioning and messaging are the 2 modules that most founders mix up and why confusing them is so expensive. Positioning is the strategy and messaging is the language. Positioning decides what shelf you are on and messaging decides what the label on your box says. In the exact words your buyer uses, not the words you think sounds impressive. Now in module 4, we are going to take your new positioning, which we have built in module 3, and translate it into homepage copy, LinkedIn posts, cold emails, and demo scripts that makes your buyer feel understood within 10 seconds of encountering you. Because positioning without messaging is a strategy that lives only in your head, and messaging is what makes the buyer feels it.